Good morning, everyone. We will be starting very shortly. So I have 1 minute and it'll be 9:15. So I'm going to ask that at this time you please mute your recordings and I will be get started in 1 minute. Thanks. All right, we are at 9:15 and I want to say good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm glad to see you here today. And today our topic is hair. So I'm looking forward to spending the next 30 minutes with you discussing the topic of natural hair and more specifically hair in the workplace. And what steps I feel as though we need to start thinking about and to taking a looking at today to prepare for the future. My name is Lynette Phillips. I'm with Second to None Human Resource Services, and I am ecstatic to be with you this morning. If you'd be so kind to chat in what your drink of choice is this morning, I'd be happy to share it with everyone. Today, I am drinking Dunkin' Donuts. That's a change from my normal Starbucks, but I felt like I was feeling a little bit of Dunkin' Donuts today. So let's see if we have anyone else who is chatting in. Um, all right, we don't have anyone else chatting in their drink of choice today, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, I am very excited today about bringing this topic to you. I know there are a lot of questions about hair and more specifically African American hair. And as I was preparing today, I was trying to determine the best way for me to distribute or talk about the content and the information. And I decided my goals with today's discussion were to be to make this a safe place so that you can feel free to ask any questions that you may have at the end. So that was the first one. The second one was to make sure that I stayed true to what the company's goals are, and that's to make sure that everything we do is educational and it helps to develop people in their workspace and also as HR professionals. So, sticking with that theme, I hope you enjoy what I've prepared for you today. Why are we talking about hair? Well, historically, as an African American woman, I can tell you that hair has been an important thing for African Americans, women and men. So I don't know if you've ever heard, but there's a couple of movies out lately. There was Barbershop One, and there was also Barbershop for Women as well with Queen Latifah, I believe, was in starring in one of those. And the reason why hair was so important is because we spent a great deal of time communing with each other in those areas. Women would go to the beauty shop on Saturday mornings, and men Friday, Saturdays. And those were times that we got together and we congregated with each other, we socialized, and we just kind of had downtime, time we could just let loose and be ourselves. And the same for men in the barbershops. And so for us, hair has been an important part of us growing up and in our community. Fast forward that to why we're talking about it today is because most recently we begin to see hair being a topic in the news lately, as well as in the courts with respect to African American hair and how we manipulate our hair. So I wanted to just kind of share a little bit of information and a little bit of oh, hold on one moment. I'm getting some static here. So hopefully you all can still hear and see me. So I wanted to share a little bit with you today about why we're going to talk about hair. And so hopefully that was helpful. And if you've missed any of this, then you can certainly go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, Second to None HR. And if you look in the chat, all the ways to contact me are in there. And as I was saying, the reason why the topic has been so important to us is because it's important to us historically. as we were growing up. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm not sure if all of you know, but I'm going to tell you Robin Williams, who is a comedian and is now deceased, he told a joke once, and his joke was pretty much it was, and I'm going to paraphrase it, I don't have it word for word, but the joke basically said, you can have two children, two people can have two children, raise them the same exact way, and have the same circumstances, the same educations, the same opportunities, and one can grow up to be uh, a doctor and find the cure for cancer, and the other can be a mass murderer. So I'm saying all that to say that, and I feel like the latter in the scenario I just gave you, mass murderer, was a little bit extreme, but his point basically, from what I took it, was that we're all different. People are all different. And it doesn't matter who your parents are, where you come from, your circumstances can all be the same, but we are all different. And so is our hair. And if you go to any store, any grocery store, at Target, Walmart, beauty supply store, any of those stores, and you walk the shelves where they sell shampoo and conditioner, just in shampoo alone, there are so many different brands, so many different types, one for curly hair, one for short hair, one for colored hair, one for straight hair, one for dry hair, and on and on and on. And if you just look in one of the beauty stores or any store where you buy your local shampoo, you'd find that there's something there for everyone. And I don't believe that companies would make that many choices for shampoo if all hair were created equally. And when I say that, all hair is hair, but all hair is different, right? So you could have curly hair, naturally curly hair. You could have naturally straight hair. Some people have both naturally curly and straight hair, different colors hair, red hair, blonde hair, brown hair, black hair. So again, if you can see what I'm talking about here, I'm talking about the differences in our hair, and I equated that to the differences in people. So if people are different, it's fair to say that our hair is different. And when you're talking about different hair, more specifically, natural hair is hair that grows out of your head just the way that you were made or created by whoever you believe created you, God or someone else. Um, it's your hair. And so the thing that is with natural hair is that a lot of African Americans have had to manipulate their hair from the way it naturally grows in order to be accepted in society. And more specifically, we've had to manipulate our hair to be accepted in the working space. And so African Americans have not felt that has been fair to them because it's not treating us the same as you would treat anyone else. To ask individuals to spend resources from their home to manipulate their hair to something that others feel is acceptable is discriminatory in some people's eyes. And that brings us to my second tip, which is hair in corporate America. And I can speak from my own personal experiences. I've spent a great deal of time in corporate America, and I know that there is written sometimes and unwritten rules about how your hair, as well as your dress and other things, should look. And there's a difference when you tell someone that their hair should be kempt, clean, um, orderly, straight, and combed, as opposed to you should have straight hair or you should have hair that is pleasing to that person, another person's eye, because they may not happen to like the way that your natural hair grows or looks. And so as you move forward, fast forward to today, you'll find that there are more and more instances of cases being brought to court dealing with natural hair. In the past, there were cases being brought, but those cases were also dismissed. Now you'll see that it's about, in my research, it said about 50% of the cases that are brought to court or brought as an issue of discrimination are being looked at. And as a result of those cases, in my research, I found that there are some states that we'll talk about later that have actually made laws around natural hair. So when we talk about the states, that brings me to my third tip. And my third tip is hairstyle discrimination. And as I said earlier, there are states that were bringing or changing their state law to say that you can't discriminate on against individuals with specifics to their hair or hairstyle. And I found 7 states that actually have made this change. And some states even went as far as to say what those specific styles are. And I'm going to tell you what those 7 states are, and then I'm going to speak a little bit about how you can recognize what this law is and what I feel as though um, you as an HR individual or a small business owner should probably do today in your own business. One of the first state I'm going to say is California. Someone just chatted in. Shay said, yeah, she's in California. So Shay must understand that this is actually California is one of the states that has had this in law. And California is one of the states that has hairstyle discrimination, and it's covered by the Fair Employment and Housing Act. And it is more specifically in their section on race, and it says you can't discriminate against the individual when it comes to race, to include the hair texture, and some additional protective hairstyles are braids, locks, and twists. So Colorado, they've instituted what's called the Crown Act on September 14th of 2020. Let's see what other states we have here. We have New York, and that's covered in, again, their race and color section, and their discrimination is this law is under the state of New York's human rights and laws, and they prohibit discrimination against, again, they specifically said braids, locks, and twists. New Jersey, right down the street from where I am in the state of Pennsylvania, and they also have a Crown Act law, and theirs is covered by the laws against discrimination. And they speak again to hair styles and textures, hair types, and protective styles such as braids, locks, and twists. The state of Virginia, they have a similar law. The state of Washington is the 7th one. And I will share with you that there has been a proposal in the federal legislation to have laws against discrimination against hairstyles, and more specifically, it deals with, again, the Crown Act. And Crown stands for Create a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. And that's an act. It's called the Crown Act. And in some of the states, they made mention to the fact that when you discriminate against individuals in their hair, your discrimination is more specifically and largely targeted towards African Americans, because African Americans manipulate their hair to look the way they'd like it to look for various reasons. More than I guess they found than other individuals, or African Americans are bringing more suits than other individuals, which is why my guess, because I couldn't find anything that said specifically why they felt it was geared towards an African American to give you specific information. So I felt like this topic was extremely important to share with you today, because going forward, I suspect, like with any laws, marijuana was one, as we saw. There were some states that legalized marijuana. And then as time went on, more and more states began to legalize marijuana. And now I believe the federal government will be taking a look at least legalizing marijuana as well. But definitely, it has already been legislation going through the federal courts. And since more states are looking at it and more states are dealing with it, I want to encourage you all to take a look at it. If you have policies that deal with appearance in your workplace, you want to make sure that you are being very specific in the words you select. And when I say specific, I want to encourage you to really define what it is you mean. So if you're saying that you want an employee to come appearance wide with clothes that look presentable, you want to make sure you're using words like clean, and you're defining what clean means to your organization. And clean by definition is without any dirt or soil or spots. So you want to make sure that you're also representing that in your policies. And the same with hair. If you're asking that hair be kempt, you want to make sure that you're describing kempt hair as clean, combed, and not without odor. Those words are all very appropriate for you to put in your policy. But if you have policies that speak to what a hairstyle should look like, you may want to take a second look at that, because depending on the state you're living in today, you may end up having to address that again in the future. And let's see, I saw someone just try to chatted something in, and I will go back to that in a few minutes. So I just wanted to make sure that you all are being very cautious, and and if you have managers that work in your organization, or if you have individuals that you need to do some training sessions, get those scheduled. And even if you don't have the law in your state, be sure to spend time and say, here's what's coming down the pike in some states. I suspect it may be coming down the pipe in our state in the near future. So I wanted to get ahead of this and have a training for you. All right. So I want to encourage you to also reach out to me, hit me on my on any of these Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have any questions, and I will be certain to try and get back to you with an answer, or if you just want to set up some time to chat about hair and how you can look at that in your organizations, I'm definitely happy to do that with you. So I've given an example of what I thought that you should have in your policies. And I'm going to get to question and answers, and then I'll read that comment that I saw just flash in the chat. But I want to thank you for taking the time to join me today. My name is Lynette Phillips, and I'm with Second to None Human Resource Services. And I'm going to give you my DE&I tip before I get to the chat. I just want to pull it out here for today. As you know, if you've been listening or following any of my chats, I always give a DE&I tip. And I have one prepared today, and it's when you're creating your dress. I gave this earlier. When you're creating your dress code appearance or grooming policy for employees, make sure your intention and or interpretation is as clear as possible. And that was not just with respect to hair, but also with any other policies that you have or may be looking at. All right. So at this time, I want to thank you all for joining me. Again, my name is Lynette Phillips, the Second to None Human Resource Services, and I've enjoyed sharing this time with you. I'm going to jump into this chat here because I'm going to open it up for question and answers, and I'm going to put on my glasses so that I can see what's being asked. And Shay, as I said earlier, mentioned that she was in California, and she said it's in new employee terms in various career occupations and companies. I'm not sure what that means, but it's saying during the online orientation, the non-discrimination against natural hair was addressed along with other policies. Okay, so she's saying that it at her job, I'm guessing is, and you can chat in if you want to clarify this, Shay. She's saying at her job, you find out about their natural hair during orientation when they come up with other policies and procedures. And I think that's fantastic. Shay, thank you for chatting that in. And I agree with Shay 100%. If when you give out your policies, any other policies, as I mentioned earlier, you want to be sure that you actually are addressing natural hair. And if you're implementing this change in your organization prior to your state making a law about it, and you create a policy about it, then definitely give that to the employees. That would also be maybe a hiring point for you. We don't discriminate against you because of anything, race, creed, color, hair, that may help encourage employees to gravitate towards your company. Um,
Lynette, may I add something?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, thank you. So prior to COVID, I started working at a local gym as one of the kid attendants when parents were working out. And after being hired at that gym during the online orientation, that's when different types of disclosures of non discrimination were addressed via video form. And like natural hair was addressed. So if a person had locks, if they had extremely curly hair, if they had an afro, like all of these different hair textures, they were all addressed in the video. And it was just stating that the employer could not discriminate against the employees, or like if there were little children or people that came into the gym that had their hair a certain kind of way, you just couldn't discriminate against them. The only thing that was stated on the employee, I guess the videos we were watching, it was just about things that you had on had to be clean. They had to follow like work guidelines. So for example, at the gym, of course, like no flip flops or open shoes, things of that sort. But it was just like mainly saying you had to come to work looking neat and presentable, but they couldn't discriminate against you as like your sexual orientation and other things of that sort.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. And Chad, I just want to mention that this is being recorded and will be posted up on YouTube. So I just want to make sure you're okay. You're aware of that.
Yes, that's fine.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that again. So with the presentation, I feel really great and about that because Shay actually lives in California, and she knows what's happening there with the Crown laws, and that all this is represented during during orientation, which is a great time to introduce these things to your employee and also give some education. And something else that she mentioned that I'm very ecstatic about, and I'm encouraging my employees to do currently, is if you are a small business, and even if you're a large business, start videotaping your training. And if you do that, you don't have to spend time or resources to have an individual stand there and be present for all the times that employees are available for orientation. But please make sure you do have an individual that they know they can go to ask questions should they have any. Thank you for sharing that, Shay. I appreciate your time today and your message. Anyone else want to chat in, or anyone else want to have a question that they'd like to talk about, or there's something they want to share during this time, and I'll be happy to answer or listen to the comment.
Hi, Lynette. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Um, I just put it in the chat. I was saying, if the Crown Act law is not in your state, how would you recommend someone dealing with discrimination in their workplace? Like, should the person present it to HR, letting them know that a lot of states are now passing this Crown Act, and this is I've been experienced this in the workplace. Like, what do you recommend, or what would you tell that person that is going through this situation and really don't know where to turn to or what to do?
I would thank you for the question. I appreciate that. And I did just take a peek at it and saw it in the chat. I would absolutely 100% recommend that that person, one, um, speak to their supervisor and or human resources, depending on the hierarchy in your company. I know currently some companies are trying to steer away from hierarchy, and they're trying to encourage people to deal or speak with your supervisor or the person directly. But I would definitely um, encourage that person to bring that up to human resources in in a way that would encourage them to really take some time to talk about and deal with this as an issue in the organization. That's what I would do. I know I'm going to add to that because I know as an African American woman, I've had this issue come up and I've had to have conversations about it. And in some instances, I've had to have it with my superiors, and it can be tricky when you're trying to tell your superior, listen, um this is how my hair comes out of my grows out of my head, and I feel as though it's discriminate you're discriminating against me because of who I am and what I look like. And sometimes when you say keywords, discriminating against me because of what I look like, people tend to get it in terms of that because people are used to hearing and dealing with, excuse me, discrimination because of color. And there's certain words that people say that give people the impression or appearance that you're speaking of their differences because they are a different color or look differently. And sometimes people will back off because of that. They'll realize, oh, wait, this is that person's hair. And when I say discriminated against you of hair and in the workplace, I want to make sure I'm being real clear and specific here. There is a difference between saying, I came to work yesterday with black hair and today my hair is green and my boss is speaking to me about having green hair. I don't know of anyone who naturally grows green hair. There may be some people, but that would be because of some kind of medicine or something like that. But so if your superior or someone at work, human resources, is coming to you because your hair is green and the policy says you're not allowed to have colored hair, I'm 99.9% sure when they say colored hair, they're speaking about hair that is not naturally colored growing out of your scalp. There are people that have gray hair. I have a little bit, coming in. I'm graying prematurely. So I definitely want you to know there is a difference. But if you are, to get back to the question, being discriminated against because of your natural hair, I would definitely encourage you to, one, try to address the issue yourself and maybe educate the person that's speaking to you about it, and then go to HR and just let them know, hey, I wanted to share this conversation with you, and I would do it in an email form. So was that helpful, and did that answer your question?
It was. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, so I just wanted to bring this point up because I want to make sure I didn't that you all know there definitely, absolutely is a difference between manipulating your hair to not look the way that it would naturally grow out of your hair. And people that are saying don't want to be discriminated with because we have natural hair are saying we want to be allowed to let our hair grow out of our scalp as it does without manipulating it and not have to feel that our jobs are in jeopardy. All right. So there is a difference, as I said earlier, between having natural hair and your hair growing out of your scalp the way it does, and having hair that has been manipulated and changed via color or something else that you can say everyone in the organization cannot have. Um, Green hair, blue hair, purple hair, pink, rainbow colored hair, because I see a lot of that now. Then saying you can't wear natural hair to work, which grows out of your hair in a natural form. All right. I want to thank you all for sharing this time with me today. Again, my name is Lynette Phillips, and I'm with Second to None Human Resource Services. And I want to encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and it's in the chat, Second to None HR. And let's see. If I don't have any other questions, look in the chat, figure out how you can connect with me or call me if you'd like to reach out. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your time with me this morning. Have a fantastic day, and thank you.